artists from all over, and we have a dear friend who is in the organizing committee. Correct?
That's correct.
So you know why I like art fans?
Why? Why do you like art fans?
Creativeness. I love anything that's creativeness. Whether it's the auto show, whether it's the new exhibits at the museum, in this case, artists, many of which are selling direct to the public, some for the first time. You get to see their work. Anything that's creative. It's a beautiful time to talk to people, see people who are maybe of a different mindset, or perhaps even teach you some new things.
From a health perspective, how does creativity and exposure to creativity affect the heart?
Well, in my opinion, we need core health. So core health, one of the 12 items that I put into that bin among spiritual health, relationship health, connectivity to your community, one of them is that creative imagination that we should never lose. And if you don't think you have it, you do. You have to discover it. Because when you do something where you're the creator, you're the proponent, you're the designer, you're the architect,
Right.
you actually are releasing a variety of different endorphins that are activating.
Wait, let me guess. The nucleus accumbens.
Correct.
I'm starting to learn.
You're starting to learn. So that pleasure center.
I will be able to get my medical license after we finish the series of this podcast.
Yeah,
correct?
well, it's an online course for the weekend. It's a little bit more than just a 15-minute deal, but you're getting there. Perhaps you can apply for a quarter of a course.
Can all the time we spend recording podcasts go as count as like part of my residency?
Oh, we could apply for a continuing medical education, or in your case, as education for the unlearned. But anyway, so activating the positive neurohormones gives you pleasure, gives you the knowledge that happiness, that is derived from those spikes in dopamine release, are also playing a role in decreasing inflammation, inflammation in your vascular system.
So let me guess. When you do something creative and release these hormones, it increases your nitric oxide.
Correct. You're getting more blood flow to the right parts of the brain, your prefrontal cortex, your memory centers in the parietal regions. And so what you end up doing is basically accessing past memories, connecting to new experiences as the whole circuit goes through. So that is an enabler because it acts on epigenetics, the proteins around your DNA. So you increase expression of good things that you want. So you prevent oxidation of the lipid membranes of your cells, meaning your cells last longer. You prevent the ability to have toxic materials just lay around the cell. So autophagy, you are able to clean up.
Autophagy is a Greek word.
Yes, I will give your people credit. Yes.
Yeah, but so I knew what it meant just from the Greek.
Yes.
They say if you speak Greek, you automatically have a medical degree.
Almost. Perhaps 2,000 years ago.
You have to learn a few Latin
Yes.
terms, but it's mostly Greek. But what is autophagy for the?
Autophagy, yes. So it's the.
Did you just try to teach me how to pronounce a Greek word? Did that just happen, ladies and gentlemen?
It did happen, but anyways.
Autophagia.
It's the autophagia. Autophagia. So cleanup of the proteins.
It's self-eating, right? You're eating.
Yeah. So.
But it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Take care of the old senescent proteins that are no longer functional. So digest them so you can make new proteins from them. Because you break them down into the amino acids and you make new proteins from those amino acids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that happens with intermittent fasting, but also happens with...
doing creative pursuits.
Right. Where you're not just a recipient.
How about just looking at art? That was my next question. What if, like me going to the art fair today, walking around, seeing all those cool things.
Yes.
Is that doing a benefit to me?
Absolutely. You're outdoors, hopefully. You're out getting air, right? Sun.
Well,
you're interacting with people.
I think it's indoors.
No, it's indoors. Okay. So you're getting air conditioning, unfiltered air.
No, but what about the walking around and just...
Yeah, so you're absorbing, again, new stimuli. And new stimuli are,
Stimulates the nucleus accumbens.
there you go. And it creates that cycle.
So it's like a virtual cycle, a
Yes.
virtuous cycle.
Yeah. And then you crave it. That was fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Or I went to the Arboretum here in Dallas. We have by White Rock Lake, an amazing place that is basically a garden of flowers, right? And so walking around on a Sunday afternoon and then having lunch at the beautiful restaurant overseeing the lake, it's an amazing stimulatory driven experience where it accesses those circles. And
Circuits or circles?
well, the circuit, I mean, in a circular fashion, but the point is you're deriving incredible amount of pleasure and activating the right parts of your brain to give you that nice stress reduction, antioxidant effect, anti-inflammatory effect, and then going one step further, anti-atherogenic.
Atherogenic? What does atherogenic mean?
It means the deposition of cholesterol plaque in the wall of your artery
So walking around looking at a bunch of flowers is going to reduce the plaque in your arteries.
because you're decreasing the former items I mentioned,
Right.
the inflammation
Right.
and the pro-oxidant milieu. And you're walking, you're exercising. So you're doing what? Nitric oxide,
Right.
right? You're getting your muscles going, you're getting endorphins going, you're getting all of the positives. So walking around an art gallery, amazing experience. So tonight,
As a cardiologist, you recommend people incorporate that in their
daily routine.
or weekly. You know, you can't go to the art gallery every day, but
But at least several times a week, you can go for free to any park,
Right.
down the Katy Trail, other areas in the city, around White Rock Lake. Certainly the streets in the various areas where we live. People have amazing gardens, amazing
and a lot of
flowers.
these galleries have lists that you can get on to get invited to fun events and
Right.
you know where they just like, you know, as long as you're pretty cool, they like having more people there.
Correct. And the other part about walking around at an art gallery and an exhibit with multiple artists is that you're going to find what you're attracted to. It's almost a subconscious driven process where you will be instamatically, without you really knowing why, and it could be a memory from your childhood, it
Right.
could be something that's been suppressed for many years, attracted to a particular type of artist or art. So in art, you know, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it is so true. And it's so important to discover who you are in terms of what you're attracted to. Same when we go see a movie. Some people like horror flicks. Some people
Right,
like
right.
comedies, romantic comedies, right? Others like serious drama or more documentaries. Others like historical or, you know, police detective type thrillers. Why do you like one versus the other? Each one of us has a certain set of experiences
Right.
from perhaps, and I'm a believer that our parents' genetics and their lived experiences and the imprinting.
Because it changes the epigenetics, right?
Correct. As time goes on, and then, you know, you went to Greece.
I think we should do a podcast on that separate.
Yes,
I want
we
to
will
stay
do
on
that.
this topic, but
Yes.
that's fascinating to me. So keep going.
Yeah. So in terms of, you know, the doctor prescribing a lifestyle modification for someone, okay, you really need to know the person. You need to connect. And then you can provide not only ways to become physically healthier, but entirely holistically lifestyle healthier. And much of that advice, in my opinion, has to do with
So it's not just pills?
No. Pills should be a last recourse. I understand that we live in a nation where 20% of women over 20 years of age are on antidepressants. That a large number of our children
20%?
are on amphetamines like Adderall.
Did you say 20%?
That's correct. It's a huge number.
That's
Insane.
that boggles my mind.
It boggles. So what I'm talking about is non-pharmacologic approaches to treating some mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, okay, obsessive compulsive disorders, among them sex addictions, substance abuse, and we will deal with all of these topics over the next few months. But I think the non-pharmacologic approach is important because that means optimizing your diet, optimizing your time spent with family. Again, those 12 core items that give you better health overall.
Right.
Whatever it is, in your particular life. Some people like to garden, others like to do puzzles, others like to go play bingo, others like to go to the park and play checkers, others like to rebuild an engine, others like to paint, you like to go do Tai Chi. So
And chess.
Yes, and when you do those activities, you're enriching that nucleus accumbens driven
Right.
process and circuits to the dopaminergic neurons that release dopamine.
Well, I have to say, ever since we did the podcast on nitric oxide, and you explained to me how my own imagination can access that,
Right.
if you focus on it and get into it, it's made my Tai Chi much better, because I'd heard about certain concepts as far as like taking the ice, the blockages within you, and you melt them. That made sense to me. You know, you have a spasm or a tension, you release it. You know, you try
Right.
to relax. The stuff that you talk about. It's funny how the Tai Chi and Western medicine are really
Tied together.
so.
Yeah, so non-pharmacologic approaches, which is what you're doing,
Right.
are extremely helpful. When we talked this morning, where were you?
Doing Tai Chi.
Exactly. So great way to start your day, great nutrition, and then the sleep pattern can never be underestimated. If you look at people who get continuous sleep between 7 and 8 hours each night, they're among the healthiest people. Okay? Sleeping less or more is actually unhealthy.
I literally think it's 90% of I have a pretty decent diet, but 90% of my
Anxiety?
health, well, my health is that I get plenty of sleep. And the days that I don't, I can
You
tell
feel
my
it.
performance is like,
Declines, yes. And these people who get too little or interrupted sleep, and in my world, that's frequent because I see an older population of patients with cardiovascular disease that also have, the males, concurrent prostate issues
Right.
or back issues. So they're waking up throughout the night to get up to go to the restroom, or they're uncomfortable. So as a cardiologist, I try to address those issues as part of my evaluation to see if I need to treat it, make sure they don't have cancer, like prostate cancer, and also get a consultant, a colleague, to see them for their prostate, for example,
Right,
a urologist or an orthopedic surgeon or someone who can address their pain. These are really important because if you're not getting proper sleep, you're not rejuvenating your neurons. So you're not getting effective autophagy, you're not getting the antioxidant, not getting the anti-inflammatory or the anti-atherogenic.
well, it leads to dementia, we now know.
And you can increase your vascular dementia, of course, over time. So, or the risk for that.
Right.
So these are really cool approaches, and that, in my opinion, need to be discussed with patients or with individuals, especially those that are having excessive anxiety, depression, OCD issues, and neuroses, to get them to use non-pharmacologic approaches as part of those 12 core entities.
Right.
Exercise being one of them, and of course Tai Chi is beyond a form of exercise. It's a form of meditation, it's a form of stretching, it's a form of relaxation, and it's a form of both resistance training,
Well,
right?
if you do it right.
If you do it correctly, right?
That's the,
But like yoga has a similar,
Right.
Effect, and others. I don't want to, not or exclude other such,
Sure.
Martial arts. I often have women, middle-aged women, that want to shed a few pounds, who have stressed out. I said, get a kickboxing bag,
Right.
imitate MMA, but instead of kicking your husband, kick the bag and do, intervals. Start 5 minutes nonstop, punch, kick, right, left, and put it in front of the TV if you must, or listen to great music as you're doing it, and then expand it.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And almost without failure, they come back and tell me, that was a great advice. Now my kid's doing it, or my daughter, she
Right.
loves it. And my husband too likes it. And he gets out his aggression, which is one of the reasons I always like hockey. Because hockey players make great husbands for the most part. They come home, they don't want to fight with anybody. Honey, take out the garbage. Yes, honey. Did you take my car and get it filled up? Honey, I have electric now for you. Okay, we're good. But that's the point.
right.
You get your negative extra aggression out.
Why is it not 7 days a week that's recommended? Why is it only, 5 days a week?
Yeah.
So Tell me the thinking
So
behind
the
that.
American Heart Association, when studies were done, they try to look at the minimum threshold that people would be able to sustain realistically.
Okay.
We don't want weekend warriors that go out and tear it up and then they injure themselves.
Right.
1-2 days a week. We don't want the person that's going to go, oh, well, I go Mondays and Wednesdays and that's it. So it was a recommendation that is based on the fact that we human beings have evolved for millions of years to walk.
Right.
Every day people walk.
Well, we used to walk miles a day. That
Correct.
was yeah.
The hunter-gatherers that were seeking different areas to feed the group. Right. Most of them were 150 people or less. And so they would travel, often walking 10 miles, and they carried very little with them.
Right.
Right? So the work in all of that kept them healthy. So we are naturally walkers. We're not meant to be runners, certainly speedsters, right? We're meant to...
so what you're saying is that I'm actually the ideal sort of human specimen, and all these people that can run fast are outlying.
Outliers.
Mutant
super beings. But
because
for short distances we can run, but we weren't meant to do that.
I can't run for short distances.
Yeah.
If you want to call it running.
Yeah.
But
even though the best athletes in the world are great at such endeavors, we did not evolve to, run all day.
One of my in college, one of my friends, Colin, was a world-class short distance sprinter, and I mean, just you've never seen electric just acceleration, world class.
That's what that means.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
World class.
And but he couldn't run 400
Is
meters.
that Greek?
He couldn't run 400 meters.
No.
No.
He had the fast twitch.
Yeah, he couldn't.
His endurance was shortened. So he knew 100, 200, that's it. Or the 100-meter relay, 4x4. That's it.
Meanwhile, I can just keep walking until it's
you
bedtime.
Owens, same thing, right? He won the medals doing short bursts, right?
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens, right? And, very few are able to master both. It's a different sport altogether. Honestly, right. So back to this, the type of activities, we mentioned exercise, we mentioned meditation, we mentioned, and by the way, and the exercise should be consistent, a minimum of 30 minutes. So that was a minimum threshold. So
what's the optimal?
The optimal is probably between 40 minutes and less than 1 hour, 40 to 60.
More than an hour?
No,
not good?
It's counterproductive. Yeah, too much wear and tear, especially if you're doing resistance training and some form of aerobic, okay? You don't have to tear it up on the aerobic. Some resistance training, especially as we age, is incredibly important because one of the main issues for people over 70 is frailty.
Right.
By the time the cancer peaks have gone and you're in pretty good shape, 70 and above, frailty is your issue, mobility. If you divide the world into those who can move and those who sit, I can tell you who's going to be healthier easily, right?
Right.
Less cardiovascular events and less cancer, plus less dementia and more connectivity.
So if somebody's really poor health, one of the first things you're telling them is you got to walk.
You got to move.
Every day.
Yeah. Why are you not moving? You have a bad knee? Let's address it.
Right.
I've got a great orthopedic surgeon or physical therapist or pain management individual that can help you. Or it's my back. Whatever it is on the orthopedic system, let's get it properly aligned so you can be active.
Right.
Second, is it a mental issue? Because you have an addiction to, say...
Video games.
Yeah, video games, for example. So let's find you a person that can be your co-pilot, that can get you out and say, hey, I'm holding you accountable. I'm here at the park at 7 a.m. You're coming with me.
45 minutes.
Yeah, 45 minutes. Go for a nice walk, a nice talk, go have a
that's
coffee
enough.
afterwards. More than enough. Correct.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's
Because people get this idea in their head that like, if I don't exercise, but exercise is so hard.
Yes. No. Brisk,
walking
nice
around
brisk walk, couple of miles. Some people fictitiously said 10,000 steps. Okay, they kind of picked it out of the air. There's not like there's hard data. Depends on
I
the
thought
individual.
there was hard data for 7,000 steps.
Not really. Okay, it's
Hey,
semi-soft
my
data.
cousin posted it, so
Yeah. All right. So we'll give him credit. 7,000 more, 10,000 if you do 12. I have people, I exercise 14,000. I go, well, you're under 15. Oh my God. You're fine.
45 minutes.
Just get
though.
out and
Yeah,
do it
right.
at a nice pace. Enjoy a conversation. listen to music, our podcast will help you.
You should be listening to this podcast as you're doing your 45-minute walk.
And among the other 12 is spiritual health. So we have a lot of people.
That's a controversial issue.
No, it's just if that's what gives you peace and your connection to God, no matter your
Your name,
religious denomination, etc. Fine, it's perfect. Do it. Whether it's
Has that been shown to reduce stress?
yes, absolutely.
All those things.
Prayer diminishes stress, diminishes inflammation, diminishes
What's the mechanism for prayer? Is it just by activating the nucleus accumbens nitric
others,
oxide?
endorphin release,
Right.
peace of mind. You're engaged in something positive that is refreshing from the most primitive part of our limbic system to our cognitive abilities at that moment, where you're really decreasing stress. I cannot overestimate the negative and adverse effects of living with stress, whether it's in relationships,
Did you say
whether
you
it's
cannot
financial.
overestimate?
Cannot overestimate the adverse effect
And that's
on your central and peripheral nervous system.
how does the stress how does the body know to suffer when you're having a hard time?
Stress releases a variety of hormones, cortisol from the adrenal glands, adrenaline,
What triggers it?
the worry and anxiety to access over things that, with good strategies to mitigate stress, proper sleep, nutrition, you're going to be better armed to deal with stressful situations. So let's say you're a person who is walks the 45 minutes a day, eats a wonderful plant-based diet, minimizing animal meats and products, but still consumes them, say, has a great relationship with their spouse, has a great relationship with their children, runs a business or their workplace.
Right.
They love to go. They love what they do.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So they enjoy other activities, great restaurants, music, art galleries, sporting events.
Sounds like this guy's
Right?
got it made.
Yeah. That guy, all of a sudden something happens. Get a phone call. Dad just had a heart attack, being rushed, may not make it, comatose. Stress goes through the roof in that person
So
for that moment.
just hearing that sound?
Yes.
So talk me through the pathway. I hear
You
the
hear-
sounds. I formulate a concept.
Correct. And then to the hypothalamus, immediate stress mode to release from the sympathetic nervous system the stress
Is that
hormones.
automatic?
Automatic, fraction of a second. Automatic, milliseconds, increasing adrenaline, norepinephrine, blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up, cardiac contractility goes up, vasoconstriction. And on top of that,
NO2
cortisol. Correct. And you are,
I
but
don't
the
know why I
person
call it
that's in
NO,
better,
NO,
yeah,
not
nitric
NO.
oxide, yeah. But the person that's had this wonderful lifestyle
Yeah.
will be better protected against the living is unfortunately confronted by stress.
Right.
So your child falls at school. They think they has a broken leg. It's dislocated. The child is crying. Mom drops everything and rushes to the school, driving fast with all of these stress hormones I mentioned, including cortisol. So that person who is unhealthy to begin with prediabetes, obesity, bad diet, poor sleep patterns, substance abuse, interrupted
The stress
sleep.
adds to the cascade.
Yeah, so you have more pro-inflammatory, what are called cytokines. So your immune cells release the inflammatory cascade, okay, called the inflammasome. So these are called interleukins, beta-1, interleukin-6. Then your high-sensitive C-reactive protein goes up. These are all markers of inflammation. And we know in cardiovascular disease, one of the most well-regarded cardiologists in the world, Dr. Paul Ridker, published, I think it was in 2017, a study called CANTOS. And basically proved the concept that cutting back inflammation decreases cancer and decreases heart attacks. Yeah. They came up with a immunoglobulin that knocks out that inflammatory cascade. It's very expensive, but it proved the concept for the first time. That inflammation was at the root of increasing your risk for heart attacks and lung cancer.
And lung cancer.
and lung cancer. Yeah. So since then, we've tried to find pills rather than injections that are expensive that do the same. And so we have one called colchicine, which is a drug we use for gout that has been shown in certain cardiac models, like after a heart attack, especially a large anterior wall heart attack like the one Eisenhower had, to decrease stress,
Right.
to decrease the negative effects of stress, not only on the cardiac muscle, but on the entire body, including the brain.
By the way, everybody who had this minute in the Eisenhower comment, take a drink.
Yes.
Somehow you always manage to bring up Eisenhower.
Well, I did write a series on children's book for
I know,
diet,
I know.
And my anti-sugar squirrel is named Eisenhower.
It's just fun that people are turning it into a drinking game.
Yes. Anyway, so you got to prepare your life to best deal with the unfortunate, inevitable stress situation. And not only are you better able to mitigate them, so we know that people who pray, who are religious, and or who are spiritual, it's a different thing.
Right.
Spiritual people can do very well with this. Religious people as well, depending on their level of connection.
Right.
If you say you're religious because you go once a year to, Christmas Eve Mass,
Well, it's different.
may not count much.
Right. It's different to have a relationship with God as
Correct.
opposed to just
Correct.
do it as a social thing.
And then other people do it, in their own way, right? Some people just read the Bible on their own, and that gives them tremendous.
Yeah. My dad's read the Bible like 5 times.
Correct. So tremendous help in terms of mitigating stress and the negative cascade of the inflammasome and the interleukins. So your immune system plays a large role. So we know when we get an infection, our immune system upregulates the inflammatory mediators, cytokines or interleukins, that give us the fever, that give us the chills, that make us feel lousy, with the intent of fighting that virus or that bacteria,
Making
for
it
example.
harder for the virus or the bacteria.
So you have to proliferate, right? So the fever, the chills, the muscle ache, all of that is a result.
Is that helpful to fighting the disease?
Yes.
Or is it just a side
No, it is
effect?
helpful.
Okay.
It is helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. So evolutionary biology, this is the way we have evolved. And so that we need to fortify our mind, body, and our core to be able to best deal with the inevitable stressful situations of life, whatever they may be.
So in other words, going to this art fair is actually helping my health and reducing my stress.
Absolutely, in more ways than you know.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, the conversations you have with people, because over there you'll engage. You're a raconteur. So you like to throw stories. Oh, I saw this. Oh, this reminds me of Greece, because everything is Greece, right? The Greek invented everything.
Art, so...
Yes, there you go. Invented art. Okay, minor thing.
Well, I mean, you could say that there's other forms of art. I won't say they invented art, but...
And medicine too, right?
Well...
To some degree. Okay.
They certainly, I will tell you this, they certainly organize it in a civilized way.
Even though they sent us on a wild goose chase for about 1,000 years on the 4 humors.
Well, that was Aristotle.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it wasn't Shaquille O'Neal, the big Aristotle.
Right.
It wasn't Shaq. Okay. So there are things that we can do that have to help people's health in the office that really have little to do with accessing another pill.
Right.
Yeah. And I think in Western medicine, we need to learn from that Eastern concept of using what we just discussed instead of pharmaceuticals. And at
obviously,
times,
pharmaceuticals have a place,
no doubt,
at times.
Absolutely.
But they're probably overprescribed.
Correct. In these issues that we were discussing,
right?
If I encounter somebody, as I do weekly, that comes in with an extremely elevated blood pressure, and just for everyone, the normal blood pressure is about 120/70. And if you're at 130, you're already in the pre-hypertensive.
Right.
And then 130, 150 is stage 1, and then 150 and higher, stage 2 hypertension. So I see people that come every day with stage 2 hypertension. So it may take me 3 to 6 months to get their lifestyle optimized, sometimes longer, depending on where they are beginning, their age, the 5 main things: their genetic pool, their age, their gender, their level of activity, and concomitant issues that are going on. Among them, stress.
Concomitant is a great word. Can you explain it to the? I know what it means because of the Greek root, but can you explain to the audience what you mean by concomitant issues?
Yeah, so other risk factors that are playing a role in increasing blood pressure. So, for example, if someone is a diabetic or a pre-diabetic, they're more likely to have blood pressure elevation because the blood pressure is in large part regulated by the kidneys, and diabetics, unfortunately, start to injure their kidneys over time,
right?
Over many years. People who have high cholesterol, same thing. The arteries are not going to be as compliant. So, older individuals, their arteries have lost their nitric oxide.
I had the bad cholesterol reading.
Yes.
By the way, I need to come in.
Yeah, but you should be better by now with your program.
Well, that's what I want to.
Follow up, right?
Yeah. But how quickly does? Because obviously, you've been my doctor for many years, and it was always your famous joke. Oh, you're healthy, and we
not
laughed.
quite.
But then this time,
you took
I
it
wasn't.
seriously. Yeah.
Well, but this was the first time I had a bad reading. How long with that bad reading before I was really starting to have deleterious effects on my body?
At your age, your 10-year risk was probably still in the lower risk for major cardiac events, such as a stroke or heart attack or death. So I would say you're still in the 2.5% or less over 10 years.
Right.
Okay, not per year.
So that elevated cholesterol wasn't just destroying me.
No, because
fast.
you didn't have the prediabetes or the hypertension.
Okay.
You're a non-smoker. You don't have the family history of premature heart attacks or strokes. Right. So you only had this one risk factor. And aside from, you were a moo. What is a moo?
Yeah, what is a moo?
Morbidly obese, unhealthy. You're a moo. You're a moo. Right? A little unhealthy. So I'm exaggerating saying morbidly obese. Your BMI wasn't at the 40 or above, but you're in the mid-30s. So I got to get you down to as close to 25 or less, okay? So the fact of the matter is you're a moo. So I got to get you into...
But to answer my question, it wasn't like imminent.
No. Over a 10-year period.
Right, it was.
Because you're in your late 40s. So I got to map out a 10-year risk profile for you.
Right.
And so looking at those factors, non-smoker, your age, your gender, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, right? We have a scoring system called SCORE.
And because I'm a man, so 3 of the things were bad.
Right.
Because I'm a male, 40-year-old male with high cholesterol.
But you're not in the greater than 20% risk.
Right.
Like 2/3 of my patients when I first see them, right? Because I see diabetics with
because I
disease.
do these activities.
Correct.
Like you said.
So you're lowering your risk, and you certainly have lowered it even more.
Right. Well, thanks to you.
And only God can give you zero risk. I can say, well, now you're in the less than 1% risk over 10 years to have a major adverse cardiac event or a MACE, MACE.
All right. I need to, we got to wrap this one up. Let me get out the script that what's his face gave me.
Oh, the script to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just say it.
This has been the Leverage Podcast. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I hope this has been informative. I know it has been for me.
Yes.
Please like and review us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok,
and Facebook. Yes.
And tell your friends.
2 episodes a week, Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah.
And we'll cover a variety of topics that have to do with helping you live healthier.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.